GM everyone, welcome. Thank you so much for joining and checking out our updates video. My name is Kenny Johns. I'm the founder of Ample. I just want to also give a quick shout out to all the holders, everybody watching this video. Thank you so much for all the support. Thank you for being there. Really excited to actually share some of the progress that we've been making over the last few months and then kind of where we're going in 2026. So as some of you may know, going to market, especially coming to market in Web3, is a pretty challenging job. Organic growth takes time. Once the hype fades and everything else, to really grow something from that place takes time. And over the last couple months, we've been putting in a lot more kind of background, organic SEO type of work. We've really been kind of focused on Reddit. We were featured in, Reddit's on Base's Reddit channel. Really kind of just made a lot of progress on Reddit, like karma scores went up and focused a lot on consistency. X Bases, we've been showing up nonstop. Our follower count has pretty much been sustainable. We've been really focused on just watching metrics, seeing what we can do to improve spaces. We've seen a lot of good efforts from our X Spaces showing up, tons of impressions, tons of awareness, and really just kind of, creating more of an organic presence across X, across Reddit. And that actually led us into now being also in ChatGPT's AI SEO, right? So you have SEO, which is essentially just, showing up when people search you on Google and things like that, right? And we've done a pretty good job there. But getting into ChatGPT requires sort of a different approach, and that's another reason why we focused heavily on Reddit. So we actually showed up finally in AI SEO. So in ChatGPT search now, we're actually, in our niche and in our vertical, we're actually showing up in results. So that's pretty cool. That's been a lot of progress. That's a little win that we've made that I'm actually kind of proud of. So big shout out to our team members that help us with that. Okay, so the next one, and this one is, I've got a couple things I'm all equally excited for, but this one's pretty good. So one of our advisors, his name's Nick Panagopoulos. I've known Nick for a long time now. He helped me get my start with like Nat Geo, Discovery, and all the other big production companies and networks that I worked with. He recently has been creating his own network. And one of the shows that he's been producing in his own network is a show called Chewed Up. Now, he just launched on YouTube a couple months ago, and you can already see there's just tons and tons of traction. He went from 0 to 60K subscribers in about 2 months. You can see he's got even more now. The view count was already at 1 to 1.5 million in 2 months. So this is massive growth in 0 to 60 days. He's got a lot of other things that I can't talk about right now going on, but they're all very positive. So, one of the benefits that we have is he's got about 50 pieces of content now, and then another 50 rolling out between now and June. So that's 100 pieces of content that we're going to need to launch over the next, let's just say year, because it's going to take us a little time to catch up, just because we have so many things going on, which I'll share, and we are a smaller bootstrap team at this point. But this is a big win. This will give us content, maximum exposure. When he goes to festivals like Tribeca X, he'll be able to talk about us as well. So in terms of our focus, and especially on launch partners, I think it makes sense to really kind of work with this project. We're obviously going to use this project as a case study to bring on other launch partners and continue to really kind of grow out the numbers and the stats and the ROI, so that when we go do our BD work, we can really kind of have a few more case studies to reference. But yeah, overall, this is really good. There's more potential that could come from this partnership, but again, until that's solidified, I can't really talk about that. But this is a really good opportunity for us. Basically, we're going to do all the streaming, physical, digital merch, all that kind of stuff, really expose them to Base and Base app and Farcaster, probably retake Zora, all those good things. So this is kind of one of our value props, is we're essentially helping Web 2 brands cross over into Web 3. But having a partner like this, having a launch partner like this can go a long way. Cool. So anyways, really excited about that. There's just so many good things to come from that. And at any point, if anyone has questions, please just either drop them in the comments below, or just jump into our Telegram. Like, I'm always there paying attention and answering questions. So if you have any questions about anything we discuss on this, video, just hit me up. All right, cool. Next, with bringing on Chewed Up, we really kind of need to get a little bit faster. And so I decided to link back up with a great connection of mine. He's an OG Ethereum dev. He's been doing this for a very long time, and he can just look at contracts and know what's up. He's helped me build our Near version. If anybody remembers that we built on Near at first, he helped build that as well. So him and his team are really well versed. He's going to come on as on a contract basis and help us out with our contracts and help us kind of make sure that everything goes well with Nick's launch. And yeah, I'm really excited because he's got patents. He built like basically a stablecoin protocol, and he's just like an awesome human. So he's going to come in, help us clean up our repos, help us kind of really get the code up to production level. So yeah, really excited to work with him and his team again. The next thing I'm super excited about is our licensing engine. With IP, you can offer a ton of different licenses, but what I decided was we should start with music. We have to pick one, we have to go through the process and really kind of make one functional first. From a licensing standpoint, we've already done so much of the research. We already have the contracts in place on the legal side. The smart ones are easier in this regard. I won't go too far down that rabbit hole now, but my point is we had to start somewhere. So in the next couple weeks, we'll be rolling out the music NFT licensing engine. And essentially this allows people to put their music on chain, actually license it, and then monetize it. So that's just one of the many offerings that are coming, but this is V1 and this will be rolled out in the next couple weeks. So keep your eyes open for that one. Also, I've been kind of restyling some of the front end just to kind of see what other kind of options we could get. I kind of like the way that this dashboard looks and some of this direction better than the layout and the look that we currently have. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think? Just let me know in the comments, or come into Telegram and tell me you hate it or tell me you love it, whatever. Next is probably one of the bigger ones. This is a heavier lift that I've personally been working on a lot, and I'm going to be really excited when we get to actually share this one, and this is our Watts backend engine. The way that Watts works is basically we aggregate on-chain data, social data, and investigative data. And what that really means is like, is there any wash trading? Are there any bundler wallets? Are there any like shady, nefarious on-chain things that denigrate the quality of that collection or token, right? Are there red flags? So we take all of these different pieces. We take social, we take the on-chain data, we take any kind of like historical data that we can find about a collection or a project, or even all the people connected to those collections or projects. And we basically weight the value of this intellectual property, and we weight the value of all of these different tokens. So we process that, we come up with a score, and then over time, we basically create these recursive loops so that we create a self-improving model and a self-improving system. And it creates a bit more of a prediction engine for value of intellectual property. And then at the same time, that ultimately can be plugged into DeFi infrastructure and DeFi tooling. And as intellectual property and different assets come on chain, these are more like real world assets, right? You really want to have a valuation and a grading system that is battle tested, has a huge database that is constantly updated. The real goal here is to essentially end up with a self-improving prediction engine that can properly value a project or predict, what would be the most likely outcome for this IP collection or the token. And then once we plug Watts in, right, to socials like X, and then include tooling like the BankerBot tooling. I don't know if you guys are all familiar with that, but basically you can have BankerBot trade. Right now you combine this Watts prediction engine with the ability to execute transactions in real time across socials and different mediums. You kind of have this really amazing tool that's a flywheel effect. People will be talking about it, people using it. If you know about AI XBT, I would think about AI XBT plus BankerBot. That's kind of like what we're looking at. And right now we're just at the data side, but basically, think of AI XBT and BankerBot, and that's kind of where Watts is, what Watts is starting to become. If you don't know what those tools are, I highly recommend checking them out. So once we get the data set up and once we get that recursive loop going, we'll really be able to start testing and really kind of aggregating all of that data. So once we plug Watts into socials and then a tooling like BankerBot, it'll allow people to then just make transactions on the spot from socials or on our site, and really just allow them to make more educated decisions and then ultimately assign true value that can be plugged into DeFi models and allow for, asset wrapping and really kind of IP vault creation that can then be collateralized. And that's a completely different conversation for like another time, but I'm just letting you know that you start with the data. We're close to being able to actually test, and once we get that, we want everybody to test that out, plug in as many different projects and everything else, because we'll be recording that data and updating that data and using that as testing. So I'm really excited to test all of this out in the next few months. And again, let me know if you like this style. Let me know if you like this format. Let me know if you like this creative direction that we're taking the front end. Really curious to hear your thoughts. Okay, so I think that's about all the updates for this specific video. As you can see, there were a ton of updates. I'll keep pushing out as many of these videos as I can. You'll probably see some recaps across our socials. But again, really excited. We've got, Chewed Up. That's going to be awesome. We've been doing kind of the organic SEO and AI SEO. We've been making a lot of headway there. And then we've got Onchain licensing coming online, the Watts data side coming online. Really excited to kind of continue development, launching, and really appreciate everyone that's been a holder, appreciate everyone that's kind of like sticking with us. Any questions, please drop them below, and also just jump into our TG. I'll be there answering questions. All right, thank you so much for sticking through the video. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one. Cheers.